we have a wonderful opportunity to make a real difference in the world through Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday is a global day of charitable giving that serves as a way to kick off the holiday season with a focus on generosity instead of consumerism. First off, in El Salvador, we partner with an organization called One at a Time. For just $100, One at a Time creates water filters that can last up to 10 years. South Hills has provided water filters for 160 families in El Salvador so far. But we don't stop there. We connect these families with a local church in El Salvador called We Are Heaven. Now, let's shift our focus to a project with an organization called Tumaini in Kenya. This remarkable nonprofit organization conducts essential ministries like running a school, providing employment opportunities, they plant churches. Tumaini is currently raising funds to construct a $6 million hospital in Kenya, which will make a substantial impact on the region's healthcare. So far, they've raised $2 million, and I believe our contributions can make a significant difference in bridging the gap and bringing this vital hospital to fruition. Tumaini has been a great partner for South Hills. They are how we have a global campus in Kenya. And through our global campus, we continue to serve that community. This year, we want to sponsor 100 kids in that community to have a Christmas. And all it takes is $20 to provide a Christmas for each child. Through this Giving Tuesday, we are going to be meeting some amazing needs in people's lives. Everything you contribute to Above and Beyond from Sunday, November 26th through Tuesday, November 28th will go directly towards these remarkable initiatives, providing clean water and access to healthcare, education, and a journey of faith. Together, we can continue to make a profound impact in people's lives.
I can quit whenever I want. I wouldn't even call my thing an addiction. It's just something I do. And it relaxes me. It's not like it's hurting anyone. Is it the best thing for me? Maybe not. But I can quit whenever I want.
As you know, I'm a big sports fan, right? I'm a huge sports fan. But I had a hard year, I'll be honest. The Trojans did not, particularly do as well as I thought they would do. The Rams are barely breathing right now. The Dodgers got wiped out. The Angels, well, they're just doing what the Angels do, and their season ended in spring. But I love my teams. I love them. But every year, I know that there are sports fans that get super jacked up about their teams. They get really, really jacked up. Do we have any Arizona Cardinal fans here? Okay, maybe you have some online. If you are a Arizona Cardinal fan, God bless you, because it's been since 1947 since the Cardinals won a championship. 1947. And they were actually the Chicago Cardinals. They weren't even the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, now you go to, how about any Cleveland Guardians fans, baseball? If you're a Cleveland Guardians fan, God bless you. Because it wasn't until their last World Series title was in 1948. Okay, and that was when they were the Cleveland Indians, which I think is a way cooler name than Guardians. Just seems weird. Okay, and then any Sacramento Kings fans? Any? Okay, no, maybe online. It has been since 1951 since the Kings won the NBA title, and they were actually known as the Rochester Royals back then. Here's my point. Those fans every year start off believing that their team might be able to do it. For over 70 years, this could be it. And a lot of times they'll be like, I'm not going to let myself care. I'm not going to let myself care. I'm not going to and then they start to care only to get let down all over again. Now, here's the thing, guys. That's usually how life works and how sin works of, I'm never going to do that again. That was the worst mistake I ever made, and I'm never doing it again until you do it again. And then you're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, right? We get that way. I thought I was cured of this. I thought I was over this. Maybe it's a sin you struggle with. Maybe it's a habit. Maybe it's a relationship. You know, it's just super toxic, but I keep going back to this and I don't want to go back to whatever it is in your own life. You know what that is. And you really feel guilty and shamed and bad. And here's why, guys, because you are so vocal about your recovery, you can't admit the relapse. A lot of times we are so excited to tell everybody, I don't struggle with that sin anymore. I'm all good. And I gave a testimony at church and I told everybody that I don't struggle with it anymore. And now that I'm all good and cured. Or I'm over that relationship. It was toxic. I told everybody it was over. Everybody cheered me on and I'm good. And then when you go back to that thing that you are so, thought you were over, I can't tell anybody because they're going to think I'm dumb. They're going to lose respect for me. They're going to think that I'm just a glutton for punishment, and they're going to judge me. So I don't even want to talk about this anymore. I am done with this. Okay. Now here's the deal, guys. How many times have we done this? I have, right? I'm good now. No, you're not yet. It's a lifelong struggle. You're always going to have problems with this. It's always so. Don't kill yourself over relapse. But what we do is we end up being really terrific liars. It's like, hey, didn't I see you with that person that was super toxic? No, that was their twin. Their twin's really nice. I think they believe in Jesus. I'm not sure, but they're really, really nice. It's like we try to make up this thing. Hey, didn't I see you purchasing this or that? No, that wasn't me. We hide our what we're doing because we don't want anybody to think I relapsed because I was so vocal about this thing. Now, guys, if that's you, please remember that you need to pay attention to this. Every time as a pastor, every time I hear somebody say, I don't have any alcohol issues anymore. I know I used to be an alcoholic, but I'm good now. I am totally cured. I could have a drink or two and I'm fine. It's like, no, you're not. You're lying. I know you think that. It's just not true. Or I'm really, really good right now. My sexual addiction's over. I don't struggle with pornography anymore. I am totally good. Hey, you should put one of those things on your computer. No, I don't need it. I'm good. Actually, you're not. Because it only takes a little something to trigger that thing in your mind to say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do what I want because I deserve this. Remember it this way, guys. 1 Corinthians 10:12 says, so if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. Now, Paul is saying there's a very big danger in being overly confident. Okay, so if you think you're all good, you're in deep, deep trouble. You need to make sure that you keep those safety rails on at all times. Remember it this way. When you stop doing what you did to get free, it's unlikely you're going to stay free. When you stop doing those things that got you free, it's unlikely that you're going to stay free. It's most likely that you're going to slide back into whatever it was that you were struggling with in the first place, right? And that is very, very frustrating. It's like, no, I conquered this. I don't want to have to deal with this anymore. I've already dealt with that. I've dealt with the embarrassment of that. I dealt with already telling people I was over it. I don't want to go back to trying to do the things that I did before. It's embarrassing. It's kind of like somebody telling you after you've got a career and you've got a family, hey, you know what? We found out that you're a couple credits short. You did not graduate high school, so now you got to go take algebra. And imagine going back to your high school class where you are now, having to go take algebra. I don't want to go back and take algebra. I still don't know once math involved the alphabet, they lost me. But I don't want to go back to school. I don't want to do this. This is embarrassing. I've already been there. I've already done that. I don't want to do it again. And that's how we are with our struggles, right? I've already struggled with that. I'm sick of struggling with that. I want to move forward. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Okay, now how many of you, and you don't have to raise your hand, but thought you were all good only to realize that you're not? Let's say, for example, when you're a kid, you live for the approval of your parents or a sibling, and you think, listen, I am not a kid anymore. I am in my 30s or 40s or 50s or whatever, and I am an adult now. I've got my own family. I've got my own kids, except when your parents are saying, hey, I'm disappointed that you're not going to be here for Thanksgiving. Okay, I'm going to move everything around so I could be there for Thanksgiving. They still have this thing over you, and you're like, but I'm over that. Actually, you're not. You're still living for the approval of these people. I'm over worrying about what my siblings think. Really? Because when you heard that they said something about you, you got really overly aggressive about it. Maybe you're not as over it as you thought. And again, it's extremely frustrating. And that's how we are when we do this, when we relapse. But remember this, guys. No one is more upset about a relapse than the person relapsing. So you know who you are. And when you do it, you're like, I feel like scum again. I hate this. I hate this feeling. I hate that I do this. I'm so dumb for doing this again. And you beat yourself up and you beat yourself up. God does not want you to beat yourself up. That's not going to get you healthy. But you do have to be honest about it, okay? By the way, guys, if that's you, have you ever done that? Have you ever thought, like, I am over this now. I am good. I don't struggle with this anymore. And then you do, and now you're embarrassed and you're frustrated and you're like, I'm such an idiot. Why do I keep doing this? If that's you, you're actually in terrific company, okay? Because the author of most of the New Testament would agree with you that it's hard, okay? This is what Paul says in 2 Corinthians 12:7. Or because of these surpassingly great revelations, therefore, in order to keep me from becoming conceited, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan, to torment me. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me. Now, if you've ever had a thorn in your flesh, you know it's extremely uncomfortable. It's there. It affects everything that you do. You can't get rid of it. It's extremely frustrating. You don't want it there. And for Paul, we don't really know exactly what it is. A lot of scholars believe that Paul had poor eyesight. Maybe that's what he was struggling with. A lot of scholars believe that he had anger issues or he had maybe some mental illness with depression. A lot of scholars have different ideas of what he might have struggled with. One scholar actually felt that he had severe arthritis. He was in pain all the time and he was just angry. And so we don't know exactly, could have been a moral strip. We don't know exactly what the thorn in his flesh was. But he was saying, I hate that I have it. I want it to be taken away. Just get rid of it. Now, this is God's response to that. He doesn't take it away. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses so that Christ's power may rest on me. Now he's saying, I'm not going to get rid of it for you, sorry, but I am going to give you grace to deal with it. In other words, I'm not going to get rid of it, but I will give you the grace to continue to struggle against it. Now, if you're like me, I'm like, God, that's great. I appreciate the grace. Thank you very much. It's awesome. But I got another deal. What do you just take it away from me? And then you don't have to do the grace thing and then we're good. You know, just take this thing away from me because I hate that I deal with this and I hate it's embarrassing. So just take it away and then you don't even have to worry about your career. But that's not what God does. He says, my power is made great in your weakness. So when you're weakest, I'm actually the greatest because now you got no choice. Now you got to look to me. Now you got to depend on me. And here's the inconvenient truth. Just because you've gotten free from something doesn't mean you still don't have to fight it. You know, guys, for a long time, I did not want to be a pastor, even after I started working at a church. I started working at a church in 2004, but I did not become a licensed pastor for another 6 years. It was 6 years before I actually became a licensed pastor. I didn't want to because, honestly, I didn't think I was good enough. When I would go to church, I would see the pastors and they were like, they all knew everything. And and to me in my mind, I'm like, pastors don't struggle with anything. They don't really struggle with sin. They're super good all the time. They always have the Bible memorized. They're just like, I'm never going to be that good. And I don't want to do it. And it wasn't until Jan Sawyer, who was working at HR at the church I was working at, said, James, I think you'd be a phenomenal pastor. You really should go to seminary and become a pastor. And it was somebody encouraging me to do that, but I was like, I'm not one of those guys. And she goes, why don't you research the Bible about those guys? And that was a good idea. These guys are totally messy. I mean, totally. Other than Jesus, they're all a mess for a while, right? So I'm like, And David is a really good example of this. David goes from being a shepherd, a simple shepherd boy. He is then going to be in line to be the king, although he doesn't come from royal family, but he's going to be in line for the king. He's a mighty warrior. He is known as the greatest king of Israel. It's a true rags to riches story, absolutely. But just like us, his great power was also his weakness. Okay, so whenever you have something that you're great at, know that it's most likely going to be your weakness. Why? Because your mind doesn't tell you when to shut it off. So if you like to solve things, that's great. But if you don't shut that off, that's going to start to annoy a lot of people around you. Or, whatever the case is, whatever it is you have. So for David, he was an incredibly brave guy. He was a mighty warrior. He was a strategist like no other. He defeats the giant as a young boy, which shows that he's tough and he's a great warrior. And the prize was that he would get to marry Saul's daughter, the princess. Okay? And so he's like, okay, I just defeated the giant. Now I get to go marry Michal. And Saul goes, not so fast. I've got another thing for you. Now, David doesn't get upset about this because David says, I'm a mighty warrior, so I'm not worried. Bring it on. I'm good with it. Go ahead, bring it on. So we see this in 1 Samuel 18:25. I always giggle at this part, which shows you that I'm my immaturity. Saul replied, say to David, the king wants no other price for the bride than 100 Philistine foreskins. I always giggle, I can't help it, sorry. To take revenge on his enemies. Saul's plan was to have David, you're just as immature as I am. Saul's plan was to have David fall by the hands of the Philistines. When the attendants told David these things, he was pleased to become the king's son-in-law. So before the allotted time elapsed, David took his men with him and went out and killed 200 Philistines and brought back their foreskins. They counted out the full number to the king so that David might become the king's son-in-law. Then Saul gave him his daughter Michal in marriage. Super weird request, guys. Not gonna lie. Now, if you think you have a terrible job, imagine going, hey, Vic, you want to be part of our army? Sure, great. Your first job is you got to count hundreds of foreskins. You cool with that? I'd be like, is there another job I could do? Can I shine the armor or something? Is there something else I could do? That was the thing, okay? For whatever reason, that's what Saul asked for. Now, here's the thing. He does it. He does it well, and it's great. So David's thing is he powers up and he makes it happen. He powers up and he becomes strong. He powers up and he wins. That's David's greatest strength. That's what he does, and it's working for him. Until he gets issues with Saul. And now David finds himself on the run. And so he's off with his men. David has a military behind him. He's off with his men, and he finds a rancher, and he starts talking to the rancher. Now, David is very famous at this point. You got to remember this. David's very, very famous. So he talks to the rancher, and he says, hey, or he has somebody go to the rancher, and he says, hey, I need you to help replenish my men. David, in David's mind, I'm a celebrity. Everybody loves me. This guy's going to do it, no problem. But that rancher actually doesn't do it. And here's the reaction here. 1 Samuel 25. Nabal answered David's servants, who is this David? Who is this son of Jesse? Now, already David is super angry because he's like, dude, you know who I am. And now you're going to see David starting to power up. Many servants are breaking away from their masters these days. Why should I take my bread and water and the meat I have slaughtered for my shears and give it to men coming from who knows where? Now, this guy, again, clearly knows who David is. It gets back to David. He is now angry. And what do you think David's going to do? I do what I do best. I'm going to power up. I'm going to destroy this nerd. I'm going to get rid of this guy. Who does he think he is? And we see this happening. 1 Samuel 25:12. David's men turned around and went back. When they arrived, they reported every word. David said to his men, each one of you strap on your sword. So they did, and David strapped on his as well. About 400 men went up with David, while 200 stayed with the supplies. I mean, dude, he's coming in. He's angry. Watch out for your foreskin, dude. He's coming in hot. So he's coming in with all these people, all right? He's angry. He's like, now, this does not warrant slaughtering. It does not warrant that. David doesn't know the line, though, because his addiction is powering up to take whatever he wants. So he doesn't know about any kind of middle ground. He doesn't know about, let's just talk it out. Let's figure this out. He doesn't know that he does what he does best. I'm going to destroy all of them. And that's what he does. And it's going to take God to actually change his heart. Maybe you could relate. I want what I want. I deserve it. And if you don't give it to me, I'll power up and take it by force. Now, guys, this is something that we could have to this day. Maybe you have that mentality with work. If you have that mentality with work, you're going to be very successful. I'm going to dominate sales. I'm going to be the best salesperson in the company. I'm going to outwork everybody. I'm going to make as much money as I can. And you could be very successful in anything, sports, whatever you do. But that doesn't translate well when you come home to your wife and kids or your husband and kids. You might work that way at work, and that might serve you well there, but you now got to change it up when you go to these people because they're not against you. You don't need to power up to take them down. You don't need to tell them what to do all the time and how to do it. You're not the manager there. You know, and a lot of times we don't know the difference. We just keep powering up because that's what we do. And it could actually hurt people around us. For David, he understood this is wrong. Why did he understand it? Because he went to God. He goes, God, this is wrong. David wrote beautiful poems. I would encourage you to read the book of Psalms. Beautiful. Here's one of them David wrote. It says, keep me safe, my God. For in you I take refuge. I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing. I say the holy people who are in the land, they are the noble ones in whom is all my delight. Those who run after other gods will suffer more and more. I will pour out my libations of blood. I will not pour out my libations of blood to such gods or take up their names on my lips. He's saying, you are the only one. I am not going to worship anybody else. I am on my knees and I am saying, you are my God. That's what he's doing. I'm not going to, no other God is even going to hit my lips. I am just only going to love and serve you, and that's it. And it's beautiful, and he means it. Let me translate this. When we pray God's way, we move from a self-centered perspective to a soul-centered perspective, okay? If there's one question I've gotten a lot in ministry is, I'm praying all the time, but I don't think God's doing anything. I don't understand. When am I going to feel the thing, and he's going to do the thing? And, well, a lot of times, guys, we just don't know how to pray, if we're being honest. What we do is we give God the instructions of what he needs to do, okay? And then we hang up. So it's like, okay, hey, God, yeah, good. Great, I know the whole heaven thing's working out great for you. Here's the deal. I need you to give me this, and this. I need you to help this person, this person, this person, this person. And I need it done now, God. You got it? Okay, thanks, bye. We are telling God what to do. But very rarely do we listen and go, what do you want to tell me, God? We just don't do it. I'm going to tell him, and then I'm going to hang up. God says, I want you to be whole. Most of us pray as a way of grasping for control, not giving God control. And when we pray, we literally just tell him what his marching orders are. And we don't stop and listen. Because honestly, guys, for a lot of us, we're afraid of what he's going to say. I don't want to, what if he tells me I have to apologize to this person? What if he tells me that I got to start serving in this area that I'm uncomfortable in? What if he tells me that I need to start giving tithing? What if he tells me that I need to repair that relationship with my child or whatever? And I don't want to do it, so I kind of don't want to hear from you because you might tell me something that I don't want to hear. So let me just talk to you and tell you what I need, and I'll even talk to you about good things. Can you go help my next door neighbor? She just broke her hip. Please help her. That's a nice thing to say. That's a nice thing to pray for. So I feel like I'm doing a good thing. I'm praying for other people. But are you really listening to what God wants to tell you? Okay? Now, guys, if you ever do that, don't feel bad, because the guys that were walking with Jesus actually asked Jesus, how do we pray? These are guys that should have known how to do this, but they don't really know how to, because they're recognizing my prayers don't sound like your prayers, Jesus. So they actually asked Jesus, how do we pray? And Jesus says, you got to take it slow and you got to listen. You don't just talk, you got to listen. Here's a simple way to remember this, guys. Prayer is not about changing God, but becoming willing to let God change us. So when you pray, don't think like, how am I going to work this out? Just go, okay, God, what is it you want me to do? And I want you to change me. I want you to actually, and I want to take action on that. Okay? It's like, well, God's not speaking to me. Well, how can he? You hung up a while ago, right? So we see David, he's getting into this conversation with God, and it changes him. We see that it absolutely changes him, and we see that David actually becomes a complete and total changed man, okay? It is awesome. In 1 Samuel 26:7, it says this. So David and Abishai went to the army by night, and there saw Saul lying asleep in the camp with his spear stuck in the ground near his head. Now, this is the guy that was chasing David, and this is David's time to end it right now. Okay, Abner and the soldiers were lying around him. Abishai said to David, today God has delivered your enemy into your hands. Now let me pin him to the ground with one thrust of my spear. I won't strike him twice, meaning I can end this guy with one strike. Easy. But David said to Abishai, don't destroy him. Who can lay a hand on the Lord's anointed and be guiltless? Guys, that is a changed man for sure. He has a complete opportunity to destroy Saul like that, and he doesn't do it. That's a changed man for sure. By the way, do you have any of you have friends like that too? Like, man, I can't drink tonight. I just can't do it. I really want to be, are you kidding? Here's 10 shots. You could do this. You had a hard work week. All right, you know what? Serve them up. Okay. And then you feel bad the next day. Maybe you made some bad choices and stuff like that. And you're like, or those friends that encourage you to do some stuff. You're like, hey, you know what? You're single now, or you're free now, or your wife doesn't know, or your wife treats you bad, or your husband treats you bad. You deserve it. And you kind of give yourself permission, and you got those friends that are kind of giving you permission. It wasn't just that David passed this up. It was that David had to say no to his friend that was encouraging him to do something that he knew that was a weakness for David as well. So David not only just doesn't do it, he actually doesn't take the temptation that his friend is saying, let's do this. He's like, know what? No. That's a changed person. If David's addiction was powering up, it is clear he is in remission of this. It is clear that he has been rehabilitated from this. He felt better. He loved God. He wrote these beautiful poems. He was a totally changed man. He has an opportunity to destroy his opponent. He does not. Clearly, he's changed until he isn't. And that's really the crux of what I'm trying to say today. For David, if this were a Hollywood movie, it would have ended here. David would have walked into the sunset, and he didn't kill Saul, and he's like, I'm a changed man, and I'm good, and I don't need to do the things I did before because I'm good now. But it doesn't end that way. Because even though David did all of these great things, life doesn't work that way. It's messy. Look what he does after he does all these great things. 2 Samuel 11:2. One evening, David got up from his bed and walked around to the roof of the palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful. Then David sent messengers to get her. She came to him, and he slept with her. Now she was purifying herself from her monthly uncleanliness. I don't know why that's in there, but then she went back home. The woman conceived and sent word to David saying, I'm pregnant. In the morning, David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it with Uriah. In it, he wrote, put Uriah out in front where the fighting is fiercest, then withdraw from him so he will be struck down and died. What? David just showed how he is totally a changed man. He's great now. He's got no more issues. He's got no more problems. He's got no more struggles. He is good now. And now he doesn't just relapse. He goes all the way. It's like he didn't just have one drink, man. The guy got wasted, right? He doesn't just go a little bit. He's like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going large. He has this guy killed. It's not only that he just took the guy's wife, he actually kills this guy. He went from writing these beautiful poems, and I believe he meant every word of it, every word. I do believe he was changed completely. But this is to illustrate to you and I that it doesn't work that way. We don't just get over something and now we're good. It's a constant struggle the rest of your life. And David shows that, right? So how do you think this happened? When you stop doing what you did to get you free, it's unlikely you'll stay free. It just is, guys. That's the reality of it. When you say I'm good now, I don't need to do those things. I don't need accountability partners. I don't need church. I don't need all that stuff. I'm good now. You're in trouble. Now, what he clearly forgot was we can't eliminate our addictions overnight. We must manage them every day. Guys, I love it when I hear people say, I used to struggle with this, but I don't struggle with it anymore, Pastor. I am all good now. I always say, hey, that's great, and I'm happy for you, but if you do, let me know, and I'm not going to judge you. Like, you know what, I'm over this, I did it, and I'm ashamed of it, but now I'm good, and it's been 6 months. Hey, that's great, but if you slip up, let's talk. It's okay. It's okay. Because I don't want you to feel like you're ashamed, because we all slip up. Recovery isn't something we do once and are done. It's a path we walk down and work ongoingly. It's a process, guys. And if you think you're good, you will be fooled. Look at Hebrews 12:12 says, therefore strengthen your feeble arms and weak knees. Make level paths for your feet so that the lame may not be disabled, but rather healed. This is saying there's a good chance you're going to slip up. It's a good chance. But here's a simple reminder to remember. Write down which practices help you get free and continue to stay free. You might want to do that. Write them down. These are the things that I did that I felt good about myself, that I felt like I was on the right track, that I felt like God was pleased, that I felt like I was being a better family member, a better person, a better parent, a better friend. These are the things I did. I need to stick to doing these things. I need to stick to doing that. For me, guys, when I first started going to church, I thought that's all I needed to do. Just go to church and I'm good. And guys, for me, it was easy. I went to a gigantic church. It was really, really nice. It looked like a shopping mall. It was really beautiful. The pastor was like world famous, which made it extra fun. The music was just like pumping and like a concert. I mean, they had like everything you could have ever imagined. And I loved it. And I would go and I would actually, wave to the greeter that I knew. And I loved it. But here's the deal, guys. Nobody knew me. And I loved that nobody knew me. I could be whoever, I could be the guy on Sunday and wave and I'm hello, praise Jesus. And then, but you don't really know me though. And I was good with it. You could do that, you could hide in a small church too. This isn't against big churches, but like, I was good hiding. I was like, I'm good, I like this. Just stay this way. I don't want anybody in here. And the thing that we have to realize, guys, is this is something that if you want really God to change you, you're not gonna be able to do it by yourself. You need other people. The point of church is not to not be known, guys. It's to be known. It's so that you can then go, okay, I'm not doing this by myself. I have other people. For me, it's so funny about people that go to church because, man, I've heard so many people go, I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. I can do everything. Praise Jesus. All right. You gonna come to church? No, I got a splinter and I gotta figure out how to do this, I love Jesus. Jesus is great. He changed my life. You come to church, well, it's raining, so I don't, It's like we have this thing where like I want God in my little thing to do what I want him to do, when I need him to do it. And when you're going to overcome any struggle, you're not going to do it by yourself. And the only way you're going to have people around you is if you let them know you. That's why I love what the women's ministry does. There's nobody that's going to judge you there, I promise. They're going to hang out with you and be cool with you, and it's fun. I love what we're going to do with the men's ministry. Not only are we we have our men's ministry leader identified already, we also have somebody that's going to be working with him, and we're going to start doing men's breakfast. And this is going to be a time where we just get together and share. And, I love what we were doing in Rooted. I love this stuff because we're getting together, not just on a Sunday, okay? Understand this, guys. True friends, people that really love you, are going to hold you accountable. They're not doing it to be better than you or to judge you. And if they are, don't put them near you. You don't need that. But true friends, good people, are going to love on you and they're going to help you get what you need, okay? Now, this isn't me just telling you what you should do. This is me saying this is what we should do. Right now, I am a pastor here, but I'm also known. I put 6 men around me that I trust that have access to whatever they want to know. These guys, if they want to, they could look at my iPad, they could look at my phone, they could look at my computer, they could ask me any questions they want. I have given these guys full access to me because I want to be known. I don't want to be one of the many horror stories that I've seen pastors become. Because honestly, guys, to me, what I can't stand is people thinking pastors are somehow better than everybody else. It's just not true. Well, I don't know. What does the pastor say? Well, I don't know. Who cares? I don't know. What does the cardinal say? What does the pope say? Who cares? Sorry, Catholics. I'm not meaning to offend you, but what's the prophet say? Or what do they it doesn't. They're just people. That's what they are. They're people. And unfortunately, these people are getting used to people thinking that they're somehow supernatural. So they're not letting themselves be known because they got to put on this show for everybody that they've got it all figured out so that you'll go to their church and that you'll invite more people to that church because the pastor's got it all figured out and he's there to help everybody. The reality is, guys, is that there's just more responsibility on me. That's the only difference. But we have listen, guys, for everybody who thinks, no, you know what? Pastors are somehow superhuman and they're good. And for all those pastors that buy into their own PR and think that they're that good, I have some interesting stats for you and stats don't lie. 75% of pastors report being extremely stressed or highly stressed. That's 75%. 90% work between 55 and 75 hours a week. 90% feel fatigued and worn out every week. 70% say they are grossly underpaid. 40% report a serious conflict with a parishioner at least once a month. 78% were forced to resign from their church, most commonly because of church conflict. 80% will not be in ministry 10 years later, and only a fraction make it a lifelong career. On average, seminary-trained pastors only last 5 years in church ministry. That's 5 years for seminary-trained pastors. So they're paying off their student loans a lot longer than they're in ministry, okay? 91% have experienced some form of burnout in ministry, and 18% say they are fried to a crisp right now. 70% of pastors say they have lower self-esteem now than when they started in ministry. 70% constantly fight depression. That's 70%. 50% feel so discouraged that they would leave their ministry if they could but can't find another job. 80% feel their pastoral ministry has negatively affected their families, and 33% said it's an outright hazard. 80% of ministry spouses feel left out and underappreciated in their church. 77% say they do not have a good marriage. That's 77% say they do not have a good marriage. 41% display anger problems in marriage, reported by spouse. 38% are divorcing or are divorced. 50% admit to using pornography, and 37% report to inappropriate sexual behavior with someone in the church. 65% feel their family is in a glass house. 53% pastors do not feel seminary or Bible college prepared them adequately. 70%, guys, 70% do not have someone they consider a friend. 44% do not make a regular, take a regular day off. And 90% say they have not received adequate training to meet the demands of their ministry. Those are the men and women that are teaching you every Sunday. If you think that we have it all figured out, you are grossly mistaken. What we need to do is make sure that we are the church, that we are coming alongside each other, helping each other. And for me, so I don't wind up on this list, I put 6 guys around me. And if you've got to answer that question, who's around you? Who have you given access to say, you know what, you could ask me the tough things, it's cool. I trust you. And what does that look like in your life, guys? Listen, if you've overcome an addiction, guys, don't stop doing the things that got you healthy. Satan does not take days off, ever. And if you're starting a church, man, you're really marked. Forget it. So if for those of us who are planning South Hill San Clemente, it's coming. He's going to come at you. He's going to come at you with all sorts of stuff. Why do you go there? You can go somewhere else. It's a lot easier. Why do you tithe there? The church is all about money. Why do you serve there? It's just whatever. Why do you, blah, blah, blah. I thought the building was going to be done by now. Whatever. Why, I don't like that James said this or that. Like everything's going to come hit you, right? Just be expecting of it. You're going to feel like on Sunday mornings, do I really need to go? Can I just watch online? Do I have to wake up and get ready? And all of these things are going to hit you guys. Understand this. If this church has impacted you in any way, know that it's because you've given back to it. You've said, I'll be known, and you've allowed yourself to be known in our church. Okay? Whatever you're struggling with, guys, please know this. Whatever that is, find someone you could talk to, because remember, his grace is sufficient for you. And he's made strong when we're weak. He's not mad at you. He's not waiting to tell you how wrong you are. He is saying, I'm so glad you came to me. Now watch what I could do in your life. Guys, I want our church not to be a church that's just growing numbers-wise. I want more and more people standing firm going, I'm a trophy of grace. I'm not going to hide anything. Some of you could say, I'm a little tipsy right now. I'm not hiding things. I'm going to come right out and say whatever it is that's going on with me. And you know what? God's made strong when I'm weak. And I've got a church, a family backing me that's not here to judge me, but it's going to be here to love me and walk me through these things. Guys, don't hide your weaknesses. You will lessen the beautiful story that God is writing about you. Okay? So we do not have worship at this time. I'm going to close in prayer. And if you have any prayer requests or tithing, Vic has got the bucket there. And so you could, and if you do tithe online, you can continue to do that. Or if you have it here, you could give that to Vic. Guys, please show up for our Dream Night, December 8th. You guys have worked hard. Might as well show up and check it out and see what that looks like. It's going to be at our new facility. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I've been told that, it could look a little bit wonky. I don't care. We're going to go there because we're going to dream about the next year, guys. And we need to see what God is doing in our church. And just so you guys know, just the latest update, the city gave us a deadline. They said, you're all good, But for rubber stamping it, we're going to give you a deadline. The city said the deadline is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. That day is come and gone. So we're anticipating any day now we should be getting that rubber stamp seal of approval, and then we can get going. And right when we get going, it's going to be a nonstop construction zone. But no matter what the building looks like, we're going to be there. All right, guys. This is going to be an interesting ride, but I'm excited about it. Let's pray. Father, I just thank you so much for your church. I thank you that we could be real and honest and vulnerable with each other. I thank you for these people that showed up. It's Thanksgiving weekend. I'm sure they would have liked to have slept in. It was a cold morning, but you got them here, God, and I just love them so much. Father, it's so rad to do church with the most real people I've ever met. It's so cool to see these people serving and giving and inviting and praying for and setting up events, and it's just so neat to see what these people are doing, God. I know you're going to continue to reward the faith that's here, Jesus, and we love you so much, and we thank you for your church. We do all this for you. It's in your name. Amen.
South Hills Church, I just want to take a moment and say thank you for watching our service online. Whether you're watching it for the first time or you're watching it again because you enjoyed the service so much from the weekend, I'd like to take a moment and dive into our giving. Every week we give people the opportunity to give back and give to the local church so that God can continue to bless your lives and bless your finances. Here at South Hills, we believe that everything comes from God. We believe that He's the one that chose us and brought us into this world, gave us our gifts and talents and abilities. And I just want you to know that when we give, we are giving back what God has already given to us. If you've ever seen any of our envelopes at a South Hills campus, you'll see on there that it says, every week at South Hills, your generosity is giving people the opportunity to live a better story. And there's a scripture on there in Matthew chapter 6, verse 21 that says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So I want to encourage you today to click down below and set up your giving, whether it's for the first time or whether you're doing reoccurring giving. We have 4 ways to give here at South Hills. 1, you can do it in person at any of our campuses through an envelope. Or 2, you can actually text any amount that you would like to 84321. And the 3rd way is to download our Church Center app. I encourage you to do this one because the Church Center app gives you opportunity to stay connected with our church and your campuses. It's a great tool and resource for you to know what's going on. And the 4th way to give is to give online. You can go to southhills.org/give and you can set up your giving there. Whether you're a guest of our church or whether you are a member of our church, or whether you simply just like to watch our services, I encourage you to trust God with your finances so that He can bless and anoint your finances, and you can be trusting God in this journey of living life to the fullest. I love you, and thank you for watching our online service today.